Hello everyone, I am Shubham Agarwal and in today's session we are going to store and retrieve the messages from database. Okay, so we have made till action server. So we have created an action server and we are able to send messages to user 1 to user 2 and user 2 to user 1. Okay, so let me show you what we have done in the previous session. Okay, so just let me go to the terminal. Okay, so this is the command prompt. So this is the prompt for Flask server. So before that, let me start the zookeeper. Okay, so this is the command for zookeeper. Zookeeper server start. Okay, so let me just press enter here. Okay, so zookeeper is getting started. So now zookeeper has started. Now let me run the Kafka server. So this is the command to run the Kafka server. So let me enter it. So now the Kafka server is also started. Okay. Now Zookeeper and Kafka is started. Now let me run the Flask server. Okay. So let me run home.py file. So when I run home.py file, so our Flask server is also started. Okay. Now let me run the action server also. Okay. So now the action server is also started. Now let me go to the browser and let me go to our URL. So when I press on this URL, so our app is showing here chat app using Flask. And when we go on login, so login form will open when we log in with user one, and when we press on login, then the user one's dashboard appears. And when we click on fetch user, then the user list will appear. And when we click on user one, then the user one will appear here. When we click on user two will appear here. Then fetch group is there. When we click on group one will appear here. Okay. So let me go to user two. So this is user one and user two chat window in which I'm writing a message. Hi. So first of all, let me log in the user two also. Okay. So let me go to the URL in this. Let me go to the login here and let me enter the user two and password is this. Then we log in and this is user two's dashboard. Okay. So the user two is chatting with user one. So let me send some message. So hi user one. So when I press send button here, so hi user one will appear here. So it is the message from user two. So let me go to here and let me just refresh this page. Then hi user one will appear here and the sender is user two with this timestamp and this message in it. And here in the action server, we have received this message. Okay. And in the Flask server also we have received. Okay. Let me go to user one's dashboard and let me send a message to user two. So hello user two. Let me write. Okay. So hello user two is sent and it is sent by user one. Let me go to user two's dashboard. When we again refresh this, so hello user two will appear here and it is sent from user one. Okay, with this timestamp and message ID. So this is what we have done in the previous session. So let me in this session we will going to store these messages, okay, that we have sent. Okay, so these are uh, for now it is local, but we will save in database so that the user can retrieve it afterwards. Okay, but before that, let us change something in this dashboard. Let me change the color of this user ID, this chat ID color. Okay, so that it means it appears more distinct in the dashboard. Okay, so let me go to the dashboard.html. So in dashboard.html, in user ID, so let me let me change the color for this. So let me write font tag. This font tag and here I will give the color as blue. Okay, so as blue. So let me just refresh the page. So uh, so let me just refresh it. So yeah, user two is appearing in blue. Okay. So user two is appearing. Now let me change the color of this user one also. So let me go to user one. So it is here before this. So Let's increase its size also. Let's put it in H2 tag, and the color will be, so style color, color will be, let's say, green. Okay. Okay. So let us give it a, let me just refresh the page. So user one is appearing with red color. Well, and let me also add one button here. Okay, so two button. One is for fetch messages, previous messages, and one for refresh button. Okay, refreshing this window. So let me go to chat window, and in that chat window, I'll create one table in which there is one row will be there, and in that row we will have a row element, and in that we have a column element D, in which we will run this. Okay, we will put this chat window, and after that we will have one button. uh, that button will be fetch messages. Okay, fetch messages, and the class would be button class. And also let me give the style equal to width 100%. Okay. Now let us create one more button that will be our refresh button. Okay, so let me write refresh, and that the class will be button, and style with this 100%. Okay, so let me just save it, and let me just refresh the page. So here the buttons are appearing. So fetch messages and refresh button is there. So when I click on refresh, nothing is happening. When I click on fetch messages, nothing is happening. Okay. So let me put some function here. So for in refresh, so let me write one on click listener here. Okay. So in JavaScript we have so in HTML we can insert some JavaScript, and we have a on click listener in which we can write something like this window. Okay, and in window we have location dot reload. So it will reload the page again. So when I write this, and when I again refresh this page, so when we click on refresh button, then this page will be refreshed. Okay, so as you can see, when I click on this refresh button, this page is got refreshed. Okay, so yeah, so this is about the refresh button. Okay, so our dashboard is looking something like this now. Okay, so let me press let me send one more message. If this hello is there, so when I press send, so hello is appearing here. Okay, so yeah, our let me send one more message. So here, so hi is there, and hi is coming at the last. Okay, and our list is also started from the last. So this part is working fine. Also, let me just bold this header. So message test. Let me increase the weight for this text. For that, we will go to fonts. Here we will give one more style that will be font weight, that will be bold. Let me again refresh this page. Yeah. So here the message text, sender ID, timestamp, message ID is appearing in bold. Let me also decrease the table size, like 90, 95%. Okay. So now it is looking good. Okay. So yeah, so we have made the changes in our dashboard. Now let's implement this fetch message button. But before that, whenever we are sending the messages, so we have sent hello user here. Okay. So in action server, we are going to also store it in a database. So for that, let me go to action server, and let me write my DB. So first, let me create a MongoDB client. So for that, let me go to home.py, in which we have used the authentication database there. So here, let me just copy this, me paste it here. So here we have created one MongoDB client object in my client. Okay. And in my client, we are creating one DB. Let the name of that DB will be global DB, which will contain the messages for our chatter. Okay. Global DB. So here, let me name it as my DB. Okay. So whenever we are sending, so in this we were sending the messages. Okay. So when we send the, so when the operation type is sent, so we send it to the user too. Okay. Means the UID too. Then we have made this handle send function. In this, we will update the database. Okay. So before that, let me first get the username. So UID1 equal to receive text, in which we have the UID1. Okay. And then we have UID2. In this we have received text, UID2. Okay. And okay. So whenever so how we are going to store the messages? So for each chat, we will create a collection. Okay. So we have a collection in MongoDB means a table. Okay, it is something like table. It is not a table, but it is something like table. Okay. So the name of that collection will be UID1 underscore and underscore UID. Okay. And how we will decide which user ID should come first? So we will just sort it according to the username. Okay. And whichever will be the first in the sorting, we will give that the user ID. And for group, the group name should start with group. Okay. So if I have group 1, so it is a group. And if I have group DB, okay, DBS. So this is also a group because it is starting with group. Okay. So the group will start with so group will be prefixed with group. Okay. So if we have group something like this group 1, so this is not a valid group for our database because we have followed a convention that the group name should contain group at the start. Okay. So let me define one function first. Okay. So def is group. Okay. So we will pass a name here and if name dot, so there is one method that is starts with method. Okay, starts with, and in which we will pass group. Okay. So if it starts with group, then we will return true, otherwise else we will return false. Okay, so this will be our group. So this is how we will define our group name, means rectify our group name. Okay, so first we will in this we will see whether if UID2, so if is group UID2. Okay, so UID2 is a group or not. So the person to whom we are sending the message is a group or not. So if it is a group, then we will do then the collection name will be the group name only. Okay. So collection name will be the group name, that will be UID2. So let me define the collection name here. So collection name equal to none initially. And if it is a group, then UID2 will be our collection name. Else, it collection name. So we will first make a temporary dictionary in which we will pass both the UID1 and UID2. So they are both of string type. And then we will sort this list first. So temp list dot sort. So it will sort the list. Okay. Then we will give the collection name as str of UID1 plus underscore and underscore plus str UID2. Okay. So in this, we have the collection name like this. So if user2 is a group, then it will be the collection name. If user2 is not a group, it is a username only, then UID1 plus UID2 will be our collection name. Okay, so UID1 and UID2 will be a collection. Okay, so after getting this, we will update our DB. So update DB, and in that we will pass our dictionary and also the collection name. Okay, so in this way, we are going to update our DB. So let me implement this update DB function now. Okay, so let me make that update DB function here. So tab update DB. So in this update DB function, first we will receive the dictionary, then we will have the collection name. Okay, and in this, okay, so we have a dictionary and collection name, and after this, we will just update the code here. Okay, so yeah, so now we are going to implement this update DB. Okay, now let's implement this update DB function. So in this, we will have first we will make a collection, and the collection will be mydb of collection name. So in this, we will pass the collection name. Okay, now we will make one dictionary. Okay, so this dictionary we are going to save it in this my collection. Okay, so in this we will have first of all message ID. Okay, so the message ID will be received text, in which we will give the message ID. Okay, and then we have the sender UID. Okay, so it will be received text, and in this UID1 will be our sender UID. Okay, then we have timestamp. Okay, it will be the received date timestamp. Okay, so timestamp will be there, and after that we will pass the uh, text message, that is our text. So it will be received date text. Okay, so in this way we are going to create our dictionary in which four things are there, and in this collection we are going to push this entry. Okay, in this collection. Okay, so now let me insert it. So for that we have my call dot insert one. So this is the function name which we just passed this dictionary. So text message. So now this message will be inserted in the MongoDB database. Okay, so after this, okay, so let me just save it. Okay, and let me open it. Okay, so let me just restart the Flask server now. Okay, and yeah. So let me restart the action server also, because we have made the changes in the action server. So let me add one more terminal and let me cancel this. So here cd dot becomes so check Python. So before that, also let me write one more. So here the action server is there. So let me print something like action server is started. Okay. So action server. So let me put it in the bracket and write started. And now let me save it and let me run this. So our action server is started. So let me increase the font. Okay. Now let me just run our Flask server also. Okay. So our Flask server is also started. So it is starting. So it is started now. So let me go to our dashboard. On this, let me first log in because we have started the server. Now in this, I will enter the user one, and password will be this. And then when we click on you login, so yeah, so our user dashboard comes in this use fetch. When we click on fetch user, so our user list will come. When we click on user two, so user two will become. Okay, so let me also log in user two also. So login page is open. Now user two and 123, and then when we press on login, so user two's dashboard is coming. So when we click on fetch user and user one, so user one will appear here. Okay. Now let me send one message. So that message will be hello user two. So it will send user to a message. So let me just press send button. So user two is appeared here, and also here when I will refresh it. So hello user two will appear, and this send from user one. Okay. So let me go to terminal and let me go to MongoDB. Okay. So let me go to the Mongo shell. So we are in the Mongo shell. Uh, Clear it. Now let me show you what are the databases that are present. So show DBs. So our global DB is there and our authentication DB is there. So let me use global DB. Okay, so we have switched to global DB. Now let me go to the collection name. The collection name was user one and user two. Okay, dot find. Okay. So when I press this, so our object that we have created, so is updated here. So here message ID is one, user two, timestamp with this, and text is this. So let me send one more message, but this time I will send it with user two. So hi user one, this is user two. Okay. So when we press on send, so it will appear here. And when we go on user two and when we refresh it, then it will appear here user two. Hi user one, this is user two from user two. Let me go to MongoDB and let me again go check this database. Okay. So one second. So let me first exit. Let me again log into the Mongo shell. Okay. Now let me use the global DB and let me into this. So here the message is okay. So here the message is not appeared. So let me see whether there is some error or not. So here it is appeared. So maybe MongoDB is not fresh. User two. Okay, so let me just reverse the number. So maybe it is user one. So here the message is coming. That is hi user one. This is user two, and message ID is two. But this time the it is appearing here user two and then user one. So the sorting is not performed in this. Okay. So here when we go to action server.py, so here in the collection name, so templates dot shortest. Oh, okay. So we have directly passed UID1 and UID2 here. So this will not be the case because they are not sorted yet. So we have to do here temp list of 0. So it will be the shortest, means the small, means it will be the first item. Okay. If we sort this to user ID1 and user ID2, then it will be temp list of 1. So now the sorting will be performed. Okay. So this was the bug. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So now the answer will come. So let me just exit from here. Okay. And let me just again restart the Flask server. And before that, let me go to here and let me again start the action server. So here, that's it. So cd go to the Python and then check the font size. And here we will write Python action server. So let me run this. So here action server is started should appear. So yeah, action server is started. Now let me run the Flask server. Okay, so Flask server is also started now. Let me go to again. Let me again log in it. So log in user one, then password 123. Log in. So the dashboard is loading. Batch user. Click. Let me click on user two. So user two will appear here. User two is there. Now let me log in again user two. Since we have started the Flask server, so it will be user two. Password will be 123. Batch user one. Okay. Now let me send some message. Hi, user one. So it will appear here. And when we refresh the chat, so it will appear here. Let me send here also from user one to user two. Hi, user two. This is user one. So let me send this message. So here it is coming. Here also let me just refresh it. And let me open the MongoDB now. And in MongoDB, so let me use global DB and let me search in user one, user two. So yeah, so there are three entries that are present. So the previous message is also stored here that was sent from user one to user two, that is hello user two. Then we have sent hi user one, but this time the sender is user two. And then we again sent hi user two, this is user one. And this time sender ID is user one. Okay. So we have stored the message in the MongoDB database. Okay. Now we are going to retrieve it by pressing this fetch button. Okay. So now we are going to implement this fetch button functionality. Okay. Yeah. So now let's make this fetch messages functionality. Okay. So let me go to home.py file and let me add one more URL that will be @app.route. And in this, we will mention the URL that is fetch messages. Then we have string user ID. Okay. So user ID is there. Okay. Then we will give the method's name that will be get and post. Okay. And after this, we will give the name of this function. So it will be fetch messages, in which we will mention the user ID. Okay. So now let me just write global and let me write users data. Okay. And producer, because we are going to send this message to the action server. Okay. So now let me so we have user ID here. Okay. And after this, we will return redirect, and it will be same here. Okay, like we will redirect to dashboard. So let me just copy this from here. Okay. Now we are going to send this message. Okay, so before that, let me get the chat ID. Okay, so it will be users data, and in that we will pass the user ID and then the user CID. So we will get chat ID, and let me put one condition here: if chat ID not equal to none. So if it is not equal to none, then we will print the chat ID. Okay? Chat ID dot script. Okay, so this will just trim the chat ID. Means if any new line and space is there, so it will trim it. Okay. Now let me prepare one dictionary for message. In this dictionary, the operation type will be fetch messages. So fetch messages. Okay. and UID1 will be UID1, user ID, it will be user ID, and UID2 will be the chat ID. Okay, so this message we are going to send to the action server. So let me just copy paste the code from here that we have used in the send function. Okay. So this message we will send, but this time the operation type is fetch messages. Okay. So here the topic is action server, and we are going to send it to this topic, and the message will be our this message, okay, with this operation ID. So this will be received in the action server.py. So let me go to action server.py, and when when we receive the operation type as, so else if, here we will see whether what is the operation type. So OP type. So we will see whether it is equal to fetch messages or not. If it is equal to fetch messages, then we will call this fetch messages function. Okay, with this dictionary. Okay, so now we are going to implement this fetch message function. Okay, so let me go here and let me implement that function in which we have dictionary type. Okay. So here, first of all, we need the collection name in which the information about the chat is stored. So let me first get the UID. So it will be received it UID1, and then we have UID2, which we have received it UID2. Okay. And let me just copy paste this code because we are going to get the collection name, we are going to use this. So we will first check whether it is a group or not, and then we will, if it is not a group, then we will just sort the user IDs, and that will be our collection name. Okay. Now we will, so we want the messages. So we will make one function that will be our get messages function. Okay. So in this we will pass the collection name, and this will get the messages from this collection. Okay, and after that we will prepare one dictionary. Okay, and in this dictionary the operation type will be fetch messages, and then UID will be UID1 will be the UID1, UID2 will be the UID2. Okay. And then we will also send the messages. So for that we have the messages as a key, and in this we will pass the messages that we are getting from this get messages function. Okay, now we will send this dictionary to the, so we will write the producer code here. So one second, sorry. So let me just copy it from here. So we are going to send this dictionary to the user itself. Okay. So here we will give the UID1. Okay, and we will send this dictionary. So this message. Okay, so we will send this message to this user ID. Okay. That is user ID1, because the fetch message will called by the user itself. Okay. So now let's implement this get messages function. So for that, let me write def get messages, in which we will pass the collection name. First we will get the collection. So for that we have to use mydb, that we will pass the collection name. Okay. Now to get the collection name, we will take the result in this. So my call dot find. So it will get all the entries in this collection, and in this we will prepare one messages. Okay, so it will be a list, and we will traverse each X in this temp. Okay, and since it contains all the entries of this collection, okay, that is specified this collection, that is specified by this collection name. So we will create one message dictionary, which the message, one second. So it will contain the message ID. So message ID will be X message ID. Okay. Then we have the send UID. So it will be X send UID. Then we have the text. Okay, so it will be X of text, double quotes, or single quotes. So double quotes and single quotes are same in Python. So and we have timestamp, and we have the timestamp. Now we are going to append this the messages. Dot append. We will have the message. So we will append this message in messages, and also let me print this message. So at the end, we are going to return this messages. So we have implemented our get messages function, and it will return the messages. So this is about so we have sent it to the user ID one. Okay. So let me go to home.py now. So our work at this is done because we have implemented this handle fetch messages function. Now let's go to the home.py file and implement the. So let me go to the users handle function. Okay, so here we are handling the user, and like we have handled the send operation type, we are going to handle the fetch user operation type. Okay, so let me go here and let me write here else if dictionary operation type is fetch messages or not. So if it is fetch messages, then we will get the UID one, that will be our received text, in which we have the UID one. Okay, and we can also get UID two, but we will so let me get it. Uh, so from this dictionary we are getting UID one, UID two. So let me get the messages first. So message is equal to received it, which we have the messages. Okay, now for each message, for message in messages, okay, we are going to update the user's data. So let me just copy all this. Okay, and I will so first we will see whether this user exists in this or not. No, first we will see whether the user and that chat ID exists or not. So for that we have to put this check here. Okay, so we will check whether the UID2 exists in this or not. Okay, and after this we will just insert this with so let me just copy it. So let me just paste it here. Yeah. So in this first, from the message we will get the message ID. So it will be message of message ID. Okay, and after getting message ID, in this message we are going to extract the text, then this, and then the sender ID, that is sender UID, send UID. Okay, so now we have completed our user handle function also. Now let's run our test our code whether it is working or not. Okay, Yeah. Okay, let's try to run this code. But before that, let me just change the here. It will be user ID 2 because user ID 1 is chatting with user ID 2. So it should be user ID 2. Okay. Now let's go to dashboard.html, and also here let me add one link that will be href, and in this we will have one URL for. Okay, and in this we will give the function name that is fetch messages, and we have user ID equal to UID. Okay, now let me close this anchor tag. Let me just save this code also. Okay, so let me just go to terminal and run this home.py. So home.py is running. Let me also run the action server. So action server.py is also running. So yeah, so action server is started. Flask server is also started. So let's go to the browser and log in. So user 1, 1, 2, 3, and when we press on login, so our dashboard is appearing. When we click on fetch user, so user 1 is there, and when we click on user 2 is there, and when we click on refresh, so the page is refreshing. When we click on fetch messages, now when we refresh, then the message should appear here. These are the previous messages that we have stored in our database. Okay, so let me go here and let me just log in user 2 also. Let me go to user 1. Okay, let me fetch the messages. So this is the messages that are coming. So let me add one more message, hello. So hello is sent. Okay, so hello is there. So since the message ID we have not updated, so that's why this message got replaced. Okay, so let me give some more messages here. So enjoy something like that. User 2. So some messages are there here. Now let me write something. This is user 2. So this is user 2 is there, and let me refresh it here also. So yeah, this is user 2 is there. Okay, so these are the messages. So let me just log out. Okay, and then log in again. Okay, so when I press log out, I'm log out from that. Okay, so let me go log in, and in this user 1, and my password is 123. When I log in, when I go to fetch user and user 2, and when I click on fetch messages, then the messages will okay, so let me just press refresh. So the messages are there that I have previously sent. So we are able to retrieve the messages from the previous chat. Okay, so this is it for today's lecture. So this is it for today's session. So we have implemented, so we have stored the messages in the database, and as you can see, when we go to the MongoDB database, and when we go to the Mongo shell, okay, and when we use DB and when we find the data, so these are the messages that previously stored. Okay, so we can see a whole lot of them. So yeah, so we are able to store the messages in MongoDB, and we are able to retrieve it. Okay, and we have added to more functionality, fetch messages and fetch refresh to our chat app. So yeah, so this is it for today's session. So thank you.